We are digital immigrants and they are digital natives. I see what you're talking about. The only way forward for us, because we don't understand how radically different humans are. Digital humans. We've never had a generation of these. Honestly, I've never seen in my lifetime a generation more open to their elders for wisdom and to ask, how do you do this? They're missing a big chunk of life. And so there's a big space in their world. I think they welcome us. And what's wonderful, you don't have to be so cool. They know you. They know you're that generation. The media, if you could just see beyond Sunday, media could be your outreach. It is actually your necessary outreach.
Yep. Hey everybody, welcome again in this conversation. My name is Mark and we are Medialight Network. We're here to mobilize believers for gospel mission today. And today we're having again the founder of Medialight Network, the one and only Chuck Quinley. Thank you for being
Thank you,
here.
Mark.
So we were in a conversation prior to this, and we were talking about how important Christian leaders striving for media literacy. You know, you were saying that this is a phenomenon that we're seeing again as media literacy or media illiteracy is dividing the world population, but more so we're seeing this phenomenon in the body of Christ. So if you're media literate, it opens up opportunities for you in terms of your gospel mission.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're media illiterate and stuck in the past and in traditional ways, it really limits you, right? So can you tell us again, why is it so important for Christian leaders to strive for media literacy?
Yeah, it is the equivalent of the last century because 200 years ago, a lot of people couldn't read. Even 150 years ago, there was a lot of people, especially in agricultural areas, that they didn't know how to read. And they were stuck. They wanted their kids to go to school so they could learn to read and get a chance. And we're back there again. It's just the world language changed, and reading on a piece of paper, that's old school. You still need that. But this new literacy, if you don't have it, you are locked out of the whole conversation. You don't have a microphone because you don't know how to use one, and you shy away from the tools. And if someone points a camera at you, you wilt. And it's like there's a new kind of literacy, a comfort in the use of the new tools for communication. And honestly, they are advanced tools.
Yeah.
It's the best day ever. If you want to communicate something, this is the day to be alive. I mean, honestly, today's tools, they're just amazing. They're so far advanced. It's one thing how advanced they are. They will translate on the fly into other languages. They will, and with the AI boom that's on its way, we don't even know where all it's going to go, the abilities. But the biggest thing for me, because churches are always on a limited budget, is it used to cost millions of dollars. You want to be on TV? Fine. Hope you got $1 million, because you're going to have to build a whole big studio. Cameras alone were $200,000. These were just crazy numbers. Now it's a late model cell phone. That's all you need. Pretty much for everything, it's a late model cell phone.
Yep.
It's more about literacy. It's like, can you see it? Can you think it? Is it your normal, natural way to think? Because literacy is on a scale. Like you can read a first grade book, or you can read a college textbook. And media literacy is the same way. I might know how to send an email, and that's one level. But then there's this whole new world that's just so easy once you get it, because once you get a language, you just flow in it. And that's how this can be too. It doesn't always have to be that you feel nervous and that you're fumbling around. There's a functional literacy, and then there's a intermediate literacy, and then there's advanced literacy. And even if you're your own national language, there's always people that are really good at their own birth tongue. And then there's others that they make grammar mistakes and they butcher it, even though they were raised.
Levels and
It's the same thing with media. There's going to be a big scale of people, but if you don't get some functional level of literacy, I'm sorry, you're just going to be left out. It won't take long. This thing is picking up. That's why we're sounding so many alarm bells, because it's not like you get 20 more years and hopefully, by then it's like, you don't have time. It's like, get serious about this because it's a wave, it's moving, and when that wave moves, everybody in the wave is going somewhere, and you're not, and you don't want to be in the group that's not.
I'm picking up on what you said earlier when you said, there was a time when parents, they're farmers, they're into agriculture, and it is their sons and daughters, the next generation, who went to school, and they're the ones who learned how to read and write. If I'm gonna apply that, I think it's also the same now with in terms of media literacy, because it's the young people who are picking up on these amazing
Mm-hmm.
tools, that you just mentioned, and this technology and this wave. I happen to teach grade 7 students. These are 12-year-olds, and I have a student who's producing his videos, and he knows his way around CapCut. I mean, he can gather his videos, shoot his videos on his own, and edit it at 12 years old, and he's on YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the young people who's catching on to this wave. But if I'm gonna relate that to a lot of the Christian, a lot of the conditions of or situations in the Christian organizations or churches, the decision makers and the leaders are not yet, they don't belong to the Gen Z or the Gen Alpha. It's the Gen X, right? Or maybe even the boomers, are still the ones who are the decision makers. They're the leaders,
Mainly them.
they're the
Mm-hmm.
supervisors,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what would you say, what needs to happen, or what do you think is the role of these leaders, current leaders now, to ensure that, all right, media literacy is important. We need to strive towards it, uh, but they're not necessarily players,
Mm-hmm.
or how would I say, participants, right? So what do you think needs to happen? How do we
Mm-hmm.
bridge that?
It's a hard pill for someone in their late 50s and 60s because well, okay, the reason they let you retire at 65, that number 65, is because life expectancy was 66 and you just died the next year, so they thought, I'd give you a year off of work.
To
But
enjoy life.
yeah, enjoy your 1 year. And you're like,
You
now,
get 1 year.
because of all the stuff that we can do medically,
Yeah.
we push that out for 25 more years, 20 more years. And so you've got leaders that are, you might be in a body that's 65 years old, but if you've taken reasonable care of yourself, you're more like the shape of a 45-year-old before. But in terms of literacy in so many other areas, it's sort of like you're an immigrant into a country with a very complex language and you're no good at it. And you're just like kindergarten level, but your kids were raised in the new land
Mm-hmm.
and they've gone from birth. All their friends speak that language. They are fluent in that language. So you end up having to use your 7-year-old grandson to translate for you something that you ought to be able to say, but you just can't make the leap.
Yeah.
It's kind of late in life to do it. Now, honestly, if you will apply yourself, you can learn. You can learn a piece of it and say, okay, I think that could be my piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the hard part is that you become the supervisor
Yeah.
of everybody in ministry under you. And this
Mm-hmm.
is this has been one of our, I don't want to say frustrations, but I wish it wasn't like this because we get the 30-year-olds and down, usually in their 20s here at Medialight.
Yeah.
We help them. They think media. They see. They look at all the things you could do to explore it. And now they go home to their church, and their pastor did not get that training. His mind is not there, and the only thing he thinks about is preaching on Sunday. So he thinks, great, I have somebody that can make a PowerPoint presentation for me for
Mm-hmm.
my sermon. And it's like, man, if you just knew, that is like half of 1% of what you could be doing, and they sort of know how to do it. If you would just, if you could just empower them, you're going to need some kind of oversight, but honestly, they're going to be on a road that is not the normal church road. It's because pastors have a lot to think about,
Mm-hmm.
from the money to the people's needs to your own preaching and teaching. And then there's organizational matters. There's a lot to being a pastor. I've been a pastor for 20 years. I know how hard that job is. So, you really shouldn't try to also be the media head and the one
Yeah.
who's calling all the shots for the media. And the media, if you could just see beyond Sunday, the media could be your outreach. It is actually your necessary
Yep.
outreach.
Yep.
Is your necessary outreach to the world, not just to lost people, but to your own church people. The internal communication of your church more and more is taking place, not even body to body, because that's how we're moving as a society.
Obviously, you're a Renaissance man when it comes to
I don't
this.
know, but I'm
you're
trying.
you're ahead.
Mm,
And but what I love about you, and it's so obvious here in Medialight, as you said, you welcome young people.
mm,
And it's so far from what we see happening in churches and Christian organizations, where there seems to be a lot of mistrust
mm,
towards young people. Like, ooh, we cannot trust them. Like, ooh, they're inexperienced, or whatever the reason is, or they're young, right? There is a reason why the Bible says, don't let other people look down on you just because you're young, right? But be an example in your life, right? But I see it here in Media Light. You welcome young people. You bring them under your wings, not to keep them, but to release them. Would you agree to that statement, that there is somehow that mistrust, and would that's something that we need to look into, for pastors to recognizing this wave now, and the burden is there for gospel mission, but the language has changed, but recognizing that the baton needs to be passed, right? And it's the young people who's going to run this, right? I mean, I'm so amazed to see a 12-year-old. I mean, wow, he's speaking like, imagine if he gets the same burden, the same heart, and he becomes a God messenger, right? And he already has this, and he's already on the wave, and he's already talking media, right? So, do you do you agree in that, or would you say that yes, that's something that we need to look into, and church leaders should actually find a way to now work with young people more and more?
one time when we had really small kids, we have 6 kids, and as I was working on my doctorate, and I was staying in a family. It was actually the Methodist bishop of some country, and I was in his family, and they were having this big family gathering. And the mother turned and asked the kids, who were like college age, a gentle question, but it was a completely vulnerable question. Like if they were going to have to out themselves with an answer. And it was just a quiet moment. And one by one, they started answering her. It was like, where are you at with the Lord? It was a serious question. And they were telling the truth about themselves in a way that will get you in trouble in a family. And as they did it, I mean, this is a godly family, and these kids are saying their doubts, where they're at. It was so honest with a stranger in the room. And I couldn't wait to get home and tell Sherry, I just saw a family. I want to be this family. And so we made it our goal is going to be that our kids as teenagers will tell us things that should get them into trouble, but they'll be that honest. And if we can pull that off, we did a good job parenting. And part of trying to get to there is another difference between controlling and sort of teaching and encouraging. When they're little, 6 and under, you better control. It's not a time for long, long, long talks about the meaning of everything. It's like you just do what I say. You put in some structure in their life. But control, it has a short lifespan because that child's going to grow as big as you are, and then they're going to grow beyond your size usually, and they're going to develop a lot of resources. They're going to have friends that you don't know. They're going to get their own job eventually. Their independence is baked in to who they are. And the wise parent is the one that sees this thing and realizes that the bigger my child grows, the less true control I have. I mean, you can say, well, I can restrict him. Yeah, how? He's 16. Well, I'll make him stay in his room. Okay, he can go out the window. Well, I'll lock the window. Then he can, they're just too smart. They have to choose to obey. And they only did that because when they were little, you did control when they were little. But there has to be this switch over where control goes down and encouraging and teaching goes up, more like coaching. And that's what adolescence really is. And if you can pull that off, you become their buddy, their coach, and they keep you in their life, and you get to share all these moments with them. And I think it's really about parenting, because that's what the older generation is always supposed to be, raising the next generation to be independent of them. So I think I absolutely, I see what you're talking about. And I think the only way forward for us, because we don't understand how radically different humans are.
Today.
Digital humans. We've never had a generation of these.
Yeah.
We are digital immigrants, and they are digital natives. And more than that, we're not just talking about before, there's always been style differences. And then maybe it went a little deeper and it was cultural differences. We're talking now not about mindset, but mind function.
Correct. Yeah.
Their brains don't think like our
Like
brains
ours.
think.
Yeah.
Their thumbs are thicker
Yes.
than our generation's thumbs.
It's evolved.
Yeah. It's changes just from doing this all day long. They've had to get what did we use a thumb for? You
Correct.
grip stuff.
And even what they see as real
Yeah.
is different. And these things that they allow to affect themselves in an emotional level, in a mental level.
This is the most natural, normal thing for me to do in a relationship. Sit down with someone, look them in the eye and all that.
Have a conversation.
Their conversations are mediated by a piece of glass. They are talking to people in real time whose bodies are not there, who might not even be awake.
with an avatar.
With this, yeah. And then with fake, and we're in the baby steps. This thing's about to get really crazy. So, the one hand is to say, I want it all to go away. And honestly, I'd be happy if it all went away and we could all go back to pre-electricity days. I think there was a richness of life that we've lost, but you don't get to make this choice. It happened. We're in the real
I think
now.
if that happens, a lot of young people would just lose functionality.
Yeah.
Bodily, they would
Yep.
like, how will I function now?
But the
Wi-Fi.
world has changed. It's not going back, and it's like you can't just put your head in the sand with this. You have to try to learn this language because it's a mind space. It's so much, but it's a meeting space too. You can go in there and you can talk to them. And I've never seen a generation, honestly, I've never seen in my lifetime a generation more open to their elders for wisdom and to ask, how do you do this? Because they don't know how to drive a stick shift, change a tire. They've never done manual things. There's a million basic life skills they do not possess. And they're good at video games and a lot of other things. Honestly, a lot of other things. But they're missing a big chunk of life. And so there's a big space for 40-year-olds and up in their world. I think they welcome us. And what's wonderful is you don't have to be so cool. Like you don't need to dress like them and act all cool and funky and all try to get their language. They know you. They know you're that generation, but you're the wisdom. And they want to hear you and they'll listen. Like they'll give you a chance. So I've seen some mid 60s and up, like TikTokers, just that open every video with now young people, and it's like a grandpa talk, but they're listening.
Now, allow me to pivot just a little bit. The threat here is it was put aptly by the Barna Group, and they had this statement put out, and they're saying that 60% of our young people will leave the church before they blow their candles on their 30th birthday cake. Would you say what is media literacy or illiteracy have to do with that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a factor that plays into that?
That is such a heavy statistic, and I have yet to be in a denomination or a ministerial group that is even willing to swallow that pill. Like they just ignore it. And that is
I mean, it's alarming.
3-alarm fire. You had better deal with this.
Yep.
Do whatever you have to do.
Yep.
To deal with this. There is nothing more crucial because actually I'm a missionary, and when you want to talk about reaching the harvest, well, the harvest is 80% of all harvest is 14-year-old down to 4-year-olds.
Mhm.
That's 80% of all conversion and first-time connections to Jesus take place that young. By the time they're 25, that's 90% of everyone on this whole planet who will ever accept Christ. They've already done it.
Mm.
That's 90%. So is 90% of your church money going to that age group? You know, it's always sort of like a little side thing, and the adults are the real show. The Sunday morning thing is the real show. Like, we've got priorities. We don't have long. We honestly don't have long, because even how long is a generation? It used to be a
Yeah.
slow world, and you had
Yeah.
40 to 60 years was a generation.
Yep.
And then it was like, well, actually, humans are changing, like radically changing mindset. You know, it's quicker. It's 20 years.
Yep.
Now it's down to 10.
Yeah.
And they're even starting to slice micro generations in there. And they're not arbitrary divisions. They are truly different
Yep.
in their manner. We
Yeah.
are picking up speed. The
Yep.
speed of change
Yep.
is so debilitating, because it just won't. It's a roller coaster that's dropping, and you keep thinking, okay, it's going to come up in a minute, and it's not coming up. We just keep going faster and faster.
Yeah.
And
I think it was 3 years ago.
ah,
I was talking to my eldest, and I
mhm.
was, because my understanding was millennial was a term for his generation and my younger son's generation. And then he was saying, "No, Dad, I'm not even a millennial. I'm a Gen Z, and my brother is Gen Alpha." I'm like, how did that happen?
Yeah. How many years apart?
They're 5 years apart. Yeah, he's
And
my
in
youngest
their
is
mind,
12.
that's enough for a
And that's
generation.
enough for a generation, because the difference is just, there. I mean,
Well, you know,
they have
Alpha's going to grow up on
characteristics.
AI.
Mm,
By the time they hit college, they will probably each have their own personal AI by name
wow.
that will know them. It'll be their best. Already, your phone knows you better than anyone in the world. It
Hmm.
knows what you're thinking. It knows if you're asleep. It knows how long your stride is. It knows, I mean, your phone knows a lot about you. And your phone's not consciously trying to follow you around and do that. It's gathering data, but an AI is going to be a generative, in the beginning, a mimic of a human,
Wow.
but it's going to solve your problems, and it's going to protect you from the other AI that
Mm.
are trying to hurt you, steal your
And we
identity.
see that happening even now, like with Chat
You're going
GPT.
to depend on that friend to
Yep.
get you through school, to help
Yep.
you make your decisions, to
Yep. Yep.
and it's going to get you're going to be, if people are attached to their pets, they're going to really be attached to their AI. And this is not 20 years in the future. This is like 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Wait and see what AI assistants are for a lot of people.
Yep. Yep. What would you say to a church? I mean, if that is the sounding alarm,
Mm-hmm.
60% of your young people are going to leave your church before they hit 30. That's
Mm-hmm.
your future.
Mm-hmm.
That's the future of your church. What would you say to a local church that faces this reality now, with a leader that is maybe a boomer or an X, but he's got this reality. All my millennials, my Gen Zs, my Alpha, they're leaving before they hit 30.
Mm-hmm.
60% of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality. Like, what would you say? What needs to happen?
I think we need to take a really hard look at the Sunday service.
Mm.
That one undertaking is sucking up about 90% of our energy and our money. We put so much focus on it. The thing about a technology generation is they're engaged with their device in hand. Like it's never more than 3 feet away from them their whole day. Like take it into the shower and put it nearby. It's always by them. The ability to be in their world and walk with them and feed them little handfuls of God thought and food and encouragement and music and everything. The amount of energy, if we could take the Sunday service and cap it and say, we're not spending more than 30% of our total energy on this Sunday thing that we're doing, we're going to free up some resources. We're going to free up some staff. We're going to rethink church.
Yeah.
And we're going to become a church that is pushing a lot of what we're doing. Let's take 25% of our total budget and say we want to enter a digital space in the beginning with our church people. Let's be part of their digital life, but then it's our new outreach. It's our new opportunity. I met a man that it was a small operation, just 2 or 3 people, and he said, I built a website, and then I bought the Google search term for how do you kill yourself painlessly. And then he drew a circle, and I want results from within 100 miles of where I'm sitting.
It's targeting.
And so, instead of getting an answer of how to do it, it would send you to his webpage as the answer that says, well, you're bummed out. Life's tough. I know. I've been right where you're at. Hold on a minute. You want to talk to anybody? Here's a big red button. Hit that button right now. So somebody has to answer this call, but he said he's getting 100 calls a day.
Yeah.
And he built a whole ministry just around one web page and one search term. And I don't even think Google charged him for it. It's like, this is a humanitarian service. So there's so many things you can do that can be a super effective way to reach out, grab people's attention, pull them toward you, and then start a conversation. And so it's not an unhuman thing. The way the internet works, a lot of people think it's all techie. It's a lot like the way humans work. It has to be, because we're the ones consuming it. So but we got to get re-educated. We got to have people that are educated, and the younger they are, the easier this is going to be. They're going to have to be empowered. There's going to be a certain, you can give them oversight, set boundaries, but they're going to have to be able to design strategy.
Yeah.
And say, this is who we want to reach. This is where we want to move them to. And everything is not about, so they'll come on Sunday and go to church here.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
We could have a huge, big celebration every week. That's great. That's a part of a church, but that isn't a church. A church has got to be deeper and bigger than that.
Yeah.
If it's going to survive.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the kind of media proficiency that you were talking about earlier. It's a way of thinking. So it doesn't matter if you're from whatever generation, it's the ability to think through this whole reality that we have now and say, like what you were saying, that example that you just said, he's a guy who just wanting to reach out to people who may be in the brink of suicide. And he targeted them because he had enough proficiency and bandwidth to get into the language of media and say, how can I reach people and use it? Right. I mean, he might not be an IT programmer.
No,
he doesn't
it's not.
have to be. Right. He just has to have that proficiency, that way of thinking that gets himself in the game.
He was 70 years old.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Renaissance
So
mind.
probably he was raising the money
Yeah.
for the other guy to do this, the other guys to do this. And he had like 3 people that that's what they do, is take that email hit every day.
That's right. If you're listening right now and you're saying, I need to get on with this, we're here for you. Click the link below or the link that is on the screen. And we have so many programs that you can be a part of. We're here for you, and we're here to be on your journey and be with you in your journey as you achieve your media literacy and claim your own media real estate so that you can be released for gospel mission in today's generation. God bless you, and thank you for being with us. Thanks.
Great.